Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle. Once again, it is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 the Midlands, heard around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Download today. It is free. The website, put the .com on it. Doggone it. That's ClemsonSportsTalk.com. 803-450-0086. That is a text line and a phone line. And again, thank you for being a part of the program. You can hit us up anytime, any place, anywhere, and be a part of the program right here live as we kick things off every day around 3:15, 3:20-ish as we roll towards the afternoon, 4 to 6 p.m. on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right. So the transfer portal has been a hot topic. I mean, it is really at this point in a lot of respects, and I'll touch on this coming up in just a little bit. I mean, I think at this point, if you're talking about adding to your current situation, it's a better option than the 2023 recruiting cycle, which a lot of players obviously are going to make their decisions in the next couple of weeks. Some of them have already made their decisions, but can make it, I guess I should say, official in the next couple of weeks as we move into the was once known as the early signing period and has, I guess, technically since become just the signing period. Now, as it is, there are other issues that I think have come from the transfer portal that I want to talk to you about today. I mean, first and foremost, as like a fan of a school, you already know this, right? There is a loyalty aspect of the transfer portal that I think probably bothers you, right? Like even with DJ Uiagalelei and his situation at Clemson. I mean, there were people, I was looking at some of the comments that people made when we put up the graphic, the breaking news graphic. By the way, if you don't subscribe, you should, to our Instagram at Clemson Sports with the little underscore at the end. On Twitter, just at Clemson Sports. And even maybe follow us on TikTok and Facebook and all that, right? Like to get the news out of Tiger Town, the breaking news, the graphics, the shareables. That's how you do it. But DJ, who many of you, as he's playing throughout the year, like Swanee, I can't wait for him to go. Can't wait for him to leave. Looking forward to the Cade Klubnik era. The Cade Klubnik era begins. DJ decides it's the end of the year that he's going to move on. And people go, whoa. What kind of loyalty is DJ showing Clemson by packing his bags and getting out of town as soon as he loses the starting job? Because I even said, somebody tweeted at me on social media and said, look, DJ Uiagalelei is who we all hoped Kelly Bryant would be. And some of you would say, no, they're the exact same player. The minute they lost their starting job, they packed their bags. And that might be a fair thing to say at this point, just kind of given the nature of the beast, like the fact that DJ isn't going to play in the Orange Bowl. You could go there, and I'm not disagreeing with you. And some of you will say, well, you know what? You can't blame DJ, and I agree with that too. I mean, if you were my son, I'd say, look, you got to get out of there because the first interception next year, if you're fortunate enough to even be the starter, the fans are going to rain down boos like crazy. The coaching staff couldn't go another year with DJ. And quite frankly, if you had it your way, can we be honest here? You wouldn't allow DJ to play in the Orange Bowl anyway. I mean, given the choice of DJ being back and Cade Klubnik playing as the starting quarterback, the only reason you want DJ there is to give you a little buffer. Just a little in case. Just in case something happens to Cade, you'd feel better if DJ were there. But if it had to be DJ, you'd say, thanks, but no thanks. Give me Cade Klubnik. So you've got your wish. You've got Cade Klubnik. But loyalty is something that is a part of it. Loyalty is a part of the issue that people now have with players at the collegiate level in football. And honestly, prior to the portal, this was not a big problem. You had some guys leave some programs here and there, but it wasn't guys leaving programs, say, multiple times. I mean, the JT Daniels situation, that's a weird one. This guy's going to be going to his fourth school? 4 schools? Like, you guys give me grief. And honestly, you guys give me grief and probably rightfully so for the fact that I spent so long in college. I mean, I don't know that I've necessarily told this story on the air, but this is true. I hope of all the days on this program, I hope my dad's not listening today, but this is a true story. So we're going into my 3rd senior year. Not that I failed, just that I took my time. So 7 years of undergrad, 7 years, wonderful years. But my final year only needed 2 classes to graduate. And I thought we were going to have a pretty good basketball team. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, what would you think if I took 1 class in the fall and 1 class in the spring? And now I was working at the movie theater up there in Seneca at the time. And, it was just, hey, living the college life, if you will. My dad placed his hands on my shoulder and he said, son, don't press yourself. So I took that. Now, maybe it was a sarcastic don't press yourself. I took it as a legitimate don't press yourself. So I took 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring. But this guy is going to be at 4 different schools during that time. I was at least at 1 school. And no, I didn't fail classes. It was strictly like, I would always I had high hopes for the beginning of the semester. I'm going to do 18 credits. And by the end, I was at 9. I was like, no, I can't cut this. I was like on a parachute, man. Get me out of there before the deadline. Nonetheless, back to the portal for a minute. Oh dear. Cannot believe you guys just heard that one. Back to the situations that I see. Okay. The reality is that I think a little bit like basketball now with the one and done situation. We're gonna lose a little bit of who's where. And it reminds me so much of that old Abbott and Costello routine, who's on first, that I thought, you know what, let's just title the show with that who's on first bit. And those two were brilliant, quite frankly, in how they pieced that together. If you've never seen it before, here, I'll share it with you just for a moment. Let me see if I can get this pulled up for everybody watching. But here you go. So this is Abbott and Costello dropping the classic who's on first routine many, many moons ago.
I would like to join the retired actors baseball team.
Oh, you would?
And I would like to know some of the guys' names on the team, so if I want to play with them, I know them, and I meet them on the street or in the home here, I can say hello to them.
Oh, sure. But you know they give baseball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You know, a lot of funny names.
You know, like Sticky Fields.
Sticky Fields.
Goofy Dan. Boopy Bobber. Booby Bobber.
I know all of them.
But let's see now. We have on our team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out, the guy's name.
And then,
That's what I want to find out, the guy's name.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Now, Abbott, you going to be the manager of the baseball team?
Yes.
You know the guys' names?
Well, I should.
Well, you tell me the guys' names on the baseball
I
team.
say, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
You ain't saying nothing to me yet. Go ahead and tell me.
I'm telling him.
You ain't said nothing yet. Go ahead and tell me.
Who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
You know the guys' names on the baseball team?
Yes.
Well, go ahead. Who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the guy's name.
Who?
The guy playing first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
What are you?
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, that is comedy gold that will never get old, quite frankly. Those two guys go 8 minutes on the Who's on First routine. But that's the way I feel like college football is going to be. Take Austin Stogner for a second. Austin Stogner. Now, some of you may have heard the name. Some of you locally certainly know it. The Gamecock faithful amongst us peeking over the fence and hanging out with us today. You guys know the name. And by the way, thank you for being a part of the show. We always appreciate it.
So you could continue to peek over the fence at the best radio show in the nation.
But Austin Stogner came to South Carolina from Oklahoma, transferred in a year ago, reconnected with Spencer Rattler. Stogner now back in the portal and announced he is returning from whence he came. He's going back to Oklahoma. And much like college basketball, one of the problems that I foresee with the transfer portal, and I think it's happening right before our eyes. Forget everything I said yesterday about the thousands of guys who jump in and the few who find a home. But how about the players that move around so much that you can't even like make a true connection to that team or that athlete? Like you can't keep up. It's a who's on first situation. When I was growing up, and I think it's now in fairness to football, 22 players on the field. Right? It's hard to remember every single player. But basketball has proven this is bad for the sport and viewership because whether you love a team or hate a team, there's a relationship between you and the players. And so I go back to when I was growing up and I'm watching the Duke Blue Devils. And you got 4 years of Christian Laettner. And you just knew who was going to be on those teams year in and year out. The early entry to the NBA, at its worst, was a guy that had played for 3 seasons. Nobody was going straight from high school to the pros, a la Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett, the way they did. And then you got to know the Jerry Stackhouses and the Rasheed Wallaces and the Tim Duncans of the world. And you had an idea of what these rosters were going to look like. And that meant that top 25s and poll voting was more reliable because you'd seen a finished product. It wasn't just piecemealed together overnight in hopes of achieving some grand success. And because of that, continuity was greater. One thing that may be a positive out of this, and I think with an expanded playoff it will be, is that this free agency that we've now got in college football, where it was supposed to be a one-time deal, but now you got guys like Stogner who have graduated and take advantage of a second real quick switch. And it's not just him, and it's not just the Gamecocks. That's not the focus here. But the focus is strictly on the fact that keeping up with where somebody is or what that team looks like or who their backups are becomes increasingly more difficult, which to me makes the product less desirable to watch. Because one of the great things about sports, when you know the continuity of the teams and the rosters and who's there, is that as you build up to a matchup on any given Saturday, you go, oh, yeah, they got this guy and they got that guy and they got this guy. Now you go, oh, yeah, remember they had that star linebacker? What? He's at Penn State. Well, who's their linebacker? Oh, well, he was playing at Southern Cal. Like it's really hard to keep up with. And woe was you, Swanee, the radio host that's having trouble keeping up with where guys are. Now, this is more about the fans. This is more about you. Because there's always something to kind of knowing the background. Having an idea of what you're up against. And I think, too, that success and what Clemson's managed to do, consistency, and what Alabama's managed to do, and what you're seeing at Georgia, I mean, those aspects of being great come from staying consistent. It's the reason you can probably name the starting five on the Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers before free agency riddled the NBA. It's the reason that if you think back to teams that played in the NFL in the 1980s and 90s before free agency was, before guys even would sit out. Eli Manning didn't want to play where? San Diego? So he essentially said, no, I'm not going, and ended up with the Giants. Steve Francis in the NBA. Players across leagues, professional leagues, have had similar maneuvers that have dictated situations in those leagues that have been bad for those leagues. And I think the NCAA is facing down its worst epidemic. 803-450-0086. It was supposed to be a positive. And I'm sure in some circumstances it is going to work out. But one thing that I will say that I think is a positive, okay? Because I do have a positive here. The leveling of the playing field. This is a situation where if Tennessee needs a running back, they got a chance to go get one this season. If Texas needs a wideout, they can go find one. Utah needs a quarterback, go get a guy that's proven at the collegiate level. That is one thing. It levels the playing field. That would present to you, teams with more losses. That's probably good. Maybe there's one dominant team and then two or three teams that have one or two losses, and then 4 or 5 additional teams that have 3 losses or more that are in the playoffs, and it resembles more what you see in the NFL. And the great thing about that is, at least from where I'm sitting, is the fact that in the NFL, nobody ever complains about who won the title. Nobody ever calls, nobody ever says, that team was not deserving. Collegiately, in the old BCS format, or even before that, when it was just the voters, the UPI, and the AP, there was always, well, do we really know that's the champ? It was a glorified beauty pageant. The BCS got it better. The college football playoff, I believe, made it even better. And I think an expanded playoff will do more at the back end of the year for excitement. But the problem is that I see from the transfer portal, outside of leveling the playing field, is just keeping up with who's where. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a look at some of those names, where some guys have landed, who all's in, and again, the impact that it has on recruiting and roster management for these coaches and staffs. I mean, it's absurd. It really is. I know they make a lot of money. I know they're paid handsomely, but the transfer portal, to me, it is a huge issue I talked about yesterday, and now another issue just trying to figure out who's where. I mean, that is an incredibly, incredibly tough thing to do in 2022. 803-450-0086. If you're watching, stay with us. We're going to be live on iHeartRadio in just a few minutes on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us here today on the live stream. Look forward to being back with you on Monday. Be a little bit early. I got some surgery that day, so I'm going to have to pre-record, maybe even do it on Sunday night, getting the opening segment in for you. So looking forward to talking to y'all then. As always, y'all take care now. And as you know, go Tigers.